Do you have your outfit in check?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Kind of.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to In the Vault with the Kate Broddick Team. I am your host, Kate Broddick, team leader and head coach of the Brantford and Norfolk locations. And I'm really excited to be sitting next to my fellow Reveler,
Yes.
team leader of the Fine Estates team and head coach of Revel on the Lake and Muskoka.
Yes.
Andrew Perrie,
That's
the
right.
Andrew Perrie.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here in the vault.
Yes.
I remember when you were building this office, and well, it was already built by the time I came in. I'm like, wow, this is a really cool area back here.
Yeah.
The big sign.
The big sign. Do you know the history of this?
No. Oh, wait.
Oh.
No. It was a bank?
It was a post office.
Post office.
That's right. So here at 76 Kent Street South is our Norfolk location, and this is the oldest building in Simcoe.
What?
And with the original vault door, and this is where they kept all the important mail.
So this is where the name comes from, the vault.
The vaults, that's right. So today we're actually going to be talking about trade secrets that have led to your success, possibly some things that you would have advised newer agents to stay away from or things that didn't work for you. And then one of my biggest things that I want to end this conversation with is actually your claim to fame and why you're so known in the real estate community is for your collaboration and network with other realtors.
That's right.
But before we get into that, if you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the business, and what made you go towards a team.
Yeah, of course. So I've been in the business. This is my 6th year. I started 2016, but like at Christmas, like December. And so I always tell everybody, I'm like, you know what? I can't say that I started in 2016 because everybody knows you don't make deals during Christmas. No. Except for last year.
Yeah, last year
was
What
the
big.
hell?
I don't know.
It was 6 months of nothing, and then hey, what are you doing on Christmas Eve? Want to go show a couple properties?
That's right.
So, anyways, and I just started. I left the corporate world, and I just knew that. Look, I ran sales teams before. It was employees, not independent contractors, so there's been a massive learning curve. But I knew that in the real estate industry, I was looking at a lot of people and how they ran their business, and I was noticing that a lot of realtors are service people. They're not business owners. Yeah. So I knew right off the bat that, hey, if I had a good marketing strategy, if I could make good connections, if I could just, be myself and have fun, I'd be way ahead of most people. So what kind of started the whole team idea was just knowing that I already have a massive advantage by running a sales team in my previous life. So that's kind of how it all developed.
And how about the simple fact that real estate can be a really lonely career? Yeah. So when you're like hitting the ground running at like say 8 o'clock in the morning, you're doing your showings, you're doing your listing meetings, you're doing your follow-up, your lead generation, marketing strategies, revisiting, your potential clients and your existing clients. You go home at the end of the day and you're like, I just did all that by myself. So the team environment really does provide culture.
Yes.
And something to look forward to.
Well, it's funny that you said that because although I knew I could run the sales team, that was my first ego check because I thought that I didn't need to join a brokerage with that atmosphere. When I started, Revel was only out maybe a year or two, maybe something like that. And so I went with a big brand company. And just because I'm like, I don't need this whole hurrah thing. Yeah. I don't need to be a part of something. Yeah. I just need to put my head down, stay focused, and do deals. And man, wow, the reality hit after my first 4 months. I didn't do a deal in my first 3 months. And I bought a house and I put the closing date really long because I hadn't even got a commission check yet. So that's another story. But I realized that, look, inside a real estate brokerage, especially at that time where team culture, those words weren't like that much, they didn't hold that much weight at the time.
It was just being introduced around that time.
And I was just like, wow, holy smokes, I really do need that collaborative space because you come into this old dog show, where everybody's closed off because they're afraid that they're going to take your business. And it was very, very lonely. Luckily, that's how I learned how to collaborate with people outside of my market, because they were the ones that didn't really care what they told me, because I wasn't encroaching. There's a real estate term, I think.
Encroaching.
On their business.
That's right. And we're going to get into that, because I think that's such an important aspect, especially for young people coming into the business who almost feel like they have something to prove, and they forget that you have another side of this that you need to work with. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, one thing that we want to focus this chat on is giving very specific strategies that have helped lead to your success. Because I think one of the things that we hear are catchwords in our industry: lead gen, marketing, social media. Oh, I put my nose to the grind and I time block. Well, what does any of that mean? Right. And when you come out of your courses, you enter the world and you're like, what do I do? Because people, I think you hit it right on the head. People are running service, more customer service. They're not running businesses. So if you want to elaborate, I'd love to hear some of these trade secrets and maybe use them myself.
Okay. So it's funny, because I just posted a video about this today. Now, if it wasn't for the opportunities that I have to go and speak, I wouldn't really be able to articulate, what, because I was those catchy terms. And it's like, so what do you do? Well, I network. Okay, well, how? What does that even mean? So today, what I posted about was a very simple concept of, because I didn't live in Niagara, I moved there. So what do you do when you have no database? And essentially, when you're a new realtor, whether you grew up in that town or not, you're most likely not going to have a strong database right off the bat anyways.
And we actually share that, because I'm not from Brantford and I moved there. And so you were from was it Perrie?
Perrie,
That's right.
A little town called Churchill, Ontario. No stores in walking distance, 20-minute drive to grocery store. So what I developed right away, and I'm like, okay, look, you don't have signs in the ground. You don't have many people, you're walking, talking billboards, the people that are supporting you, even the people that know you, they're like, oh, do I really want to support somebody who's just started? Right? So how do you grow that sphere of influence, that database, in a town where nobody knows you and maybe doesn't even respect you? So anyways, what I was doing is I was focusing my efforts on promoting myself to out-of-town realtors, out-of-town buyers or sellers. So where most people, okay, you know what, I got to put a bus billboard up and a bus bench ad, and I got to go door knocking, and, I got to send door hangers and flyers out to my farm area, which we do, and it's important. But the fastest way to grow in a market where nobody knows you is to market yourself outside your market.
That's such a reverse engineering concept, because everyone is trying to hit their immediate area, which is a lot of competition. Right. Other realtors are doing the same. And you're like, no, screw that. I'm going to go outside my area to bring people into me.
And you know what? I was talking on the Broke Agent podcast with Matt Leonetti, the Overask podcast, now BAM, and he had never heard that before.
I've never heard that
He's
before.
like, we've talked to hundreds of realtors, and nobody ever said that their source of their business was marketing to A, other realtors, and B, out-of-towners. So, I just went to go meet with the builder, and he wasn't very happy with his representative. And he's like, we need somebody that's more forward-thinking. And I brought him this very expensive coffee table book. And it's from a magazine that exclusively hands out these magazines to a market in Toronto, top 1 percenters. It goes on private jets. It goes on, the Hilton, in their, the St. Regis Hotel, all of these really high-end places. And I put it on their desk. I open it up to my editorial, and it just says in big letters, "Meet the team moving Torontonians to Niagara." And they're like,
brilliant.
Holy crap. Who's spending that type of money to attack a target market that's not even in their local farming area?
See, I find this really interesting. So for, newer agents coming in, or existing agents who are struggling in this market, because I think we're leveling off now, but it's definitely not what it was in 2020, 2021, and the beginning of 2022. What would you say would be the key aspects to start that? Because farming a local area is already a little bit overwhelming, right? You've got to spend the money, you've got to get out there and pound the pavement, you've got to have good eye-catching marketing. Now I got to market to all these people that are outside my area. So where would you start?
That's a really good question. Thankfully, I had something that was completely obvious in my market. Niagara on the Lake, wine farms. So I already love wearing plaid as it is. So find your passion. For me, it's wine and farms. And I started just everything about me was wine, 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 wine. And when people made that connection between wine and wine country, Niagara on the Lake, it was so easy because when people started hearing the word Niagara, they were like, Andrew, instantly. So find your piece of the community that you're in, such as, what's another really, really good one? Like if you're in Toronto, it's like, lake views or something like that.
Like condo the views. Beaches, water.
Exactly. So, and that's what Mac Inc., Evan and Jesse do very well is waterfront.
Yes, they do.
So find something that you're passionate about. Equestrian. Hey, I love horses. I have horses. This is what I'm all about. So when people think horses or farms, they go to you. So you got to find something that you're passionate about, because if you're not passionate about it, you're most likely not going to follow through with it. And then that's what your whole image, your brand, and your messaging has to be about. So you get involved in realtor Facebook groups, and that's what you're talking about. It has to be intentional. Luckily for me, it's what everybody loves in wine. So I got off easy. But if you're military, sports, all those types of things, make that, and it's true because what you always hear about niche, and do I sell commercial, industrial, and multifamily? Do I sell first-time home buyers, military? I sell it all. I do it all. There's nothing that I don't do. However, when I put myself out there, it's specific to that one thing so that it makes people think of you whenever they hear it.
Relatable.
Yeah.
People who have the same passions are going to look towards you as well. So buyers and sellers, and then realtors.
Right.
Which is what what I think you're known for is everyone knows who Andrew Perrie is, right?
Right.
Like that, and that's a good thing.
But and here's how you have to follow that up, by the way, because even when my team, when we do car rides and we go to trips and we go see, different areas of our markets, they'll be like, oh my God, how do you handle this? Because I will have at least 5 to 10 calls from random realtors all across Ontario and Canada and the States. Or my ding, 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 my DMs are lining up, and it's every single day. And if I'm not answering them in an appropriate time frame, or if I'm not providing value to them, then your reputation for being known for those connections can start dwindling. So that it takes a lot of hard work as well. It's not just like, hey, I'm popular, send me your business. Right. It's an ongoing daily thing. So when we've had conversations about when I physically leave the office, and I know we have different varying views on that, but it doesn't end there. It's like till 10 o'clock, like, yes, I use Agent Locator. Yes, I advertise in local newspapers. Hey, do you know who, the best company to send client gifts out? It's an ongoing thing, but I love doing it.
But you're a wealth of knowledge, and you're also a matchmaker. I mean, I'm not going to get into who it was, but even yesterday, like I just finished an interview with an agent, and I already got you on the phone saying, "Oh, I know this person." Blah 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 blah. But are you following me? How do you know this?
It really is.
It is. It's connecting people.
Exactly.
It's connecting people, which I love. So, I mean, that's a great tip for new agents or existing agents. So what would you say the next 2 things that you would, if you had to hound into somebody, just finish my courses, or, I'm struggling in this market, what are some other things that you would say really attributed to your success? So branding yourself and really connecting it with a niche is one.
Yeah. In marketing outside. But I think also it's like, it comes down to this. The success formula, your ability to succeed is in direct proportion to your willingness to communicate with as many different types of people as humanly possible in a positive way. What that means is that if you had to literally fight for your life and you had to sell one house in order to friggin' survive, which is a lot of realtors out there. Yeah. However, for some reason, they have this safety net, even though I'm like, well, how are you going to get paid? Who's going to help pay for your mortgage? So I don't know why people don't have this mentality, some people. So it's like, if I said, look, you've got to go out there and sell one house, or you're getting thrown in jail, you're going to lose your house. How the hell would you do it?
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. I don't, it is just, what do you mean you don't know? There's people walking by you on the street every single day.
Yeah.
That's the biggest lead generator there is. You would obviously, if you had to sell a house, you'd stop every single person you saw. Be like, hi, I'm Andrew. I'm a fucking realtor.
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do for you?
Yes.
So why don't we do that to grow our business and fulfill our needs and our goals? Because we all start the year off with the same goal. I want to make money. I want to help people. I want to grow this, that. So I would say just everybody is a potential.
Not everyone has that mentality. I love this because the funny thing that I have is conversations with people, and one of the biggest fears is talking to people, putting themselves out there. It's the fear of rejection.
Right.
Right? But I mean, how are you ever going to navigate this business if you don't put yourself out there and communicate that you're a realtor, communicate that you're here to help them, but also continue that follow-up? And I think that's where people drop the ball.
The follow-up.
It's because, I don't want to bother them.
Right.
Well, you're not bothering them. Give them value.
Yeah.
Show them what you've got. Why should they use you? Don't just ask them about the weather.
Yeah.
Give them information. That's what people want. People want a competent, hardworking, committed people, right?
Yeah, and what we talk about on our team is that, look, the clients that you've previously start there. Say, hey, look, John, you bought your house a couple of years ago. This is just a friendly check-in. Say, a house around the corner from you sold for $600,000. You bought for $350,000. I hope that, gives you a good idea of how much equity you've got. While I have you on the phone, do you have any questions at all? No? Okay, John, we'll talk to you next quarter.
What I like what you just said there, while I have you on the phone.
Yes.
It's the person to person. And I drill this with my agents. Don't text them.
Never.
Don't email them.
Oh my God.
Call them.
My heart breaks every time, I check in with our realtors, and our team's really good, but it's like, hey, I text them, nothing back. Wait, what? Why didn't you call them? Oh, I did. No answer. Okay. All right. So that's why we have notes. That's why we inspect what we expect. And it's not because we're trying to expose them. It's because we're trying to help them.
Yeah.
But you did say something interesting. You said people are afraid of no. Yes. So what if I do this exercise all the time. What if I told you the difference between where you are right now and hitting your goal is 25 no's? Could be 50, could be 100, could be 5. How excited would you be to get that first no?
So it's like, once again, you like to reverse engineer these questions, break them down, right?
Right. And people I say that, and people tend to just, okay, yeah, that makes sense, roll their eyes, or, yeah, but how does that physically help me? Well, it's supposed to get you excited that you need to be focused on the one thing. So it's not like, hey, I need to go door knocking for 2 hours. It's, I need to go door knocking to get 5 names. And I don't stop. Like, there's no time frame on these types of things.
And you also can't manage time. Time keeps going. It doesn't matter how many tasks you did. I love that. So instead of giving an actual time span, you're getting a goal out of it.
Exactly.
So get 5 names instead of 2 hours. I love that.
And the greatest and easiest way to think about it is like, okay, I've spent 3 days at a home show, and we didn't get any leads or talk to anybody. So you went there, 3 days passed, but there was no intent or purpose of why you were actually there.
There was no goal.
Right, exactly. So my goal here is to get 100 names. So at our NOTL home show, we got 100 names. At our Cottage Fest, we got, I think close to 200 or 300. So we're learning it now. But now that you have the names and we are calling them and we're understanding that, honestly, I barely remember what booth you guys were at. So now you have to learn. We've learned how to break out of our comfort zone and talk to people, but now we need to talk to them with intent. It'd be like, hey, while I have you here, is there anything about the real estate market that you have questions about? Or why did you come into a cottage show? Are you looking for ideas on how to renovate or design your space? Maybe get it ready for sale or have renters come in? Here's some top tips that we feel are going to help improve your cottage. And so now on our next one, we're actually going to combine our pamphlets to say just that and say, hey, here you go. I'm going to call you in 3 months and see if you've done anything that we've talked about. And then I want to see what type of value you've added to your cottage. Is that okay? Great. Good. So now it's about teaching the team on how to talk with intent.
That's a good one though too, right? Because I mean, anyone can strike up a conversation, but it's about leading the conversation to the information that you want,
Controlling,
right? That's
so
right.
you always know what they're going to say.
Yes.
Nothing should be a surprise in these types of conversations. I don't believe in scripts, but I do believe in the foundational aspects of what you're actually doing and what the purpose is.
Yeah, but because if you don't have a purpose in your conversation, you're not going to get the information that you require. You're also not going to give the information that the client needs. Mm. So then if you had one other tip, something that works.
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing here, there's so much, but I think the biggest thing here is to surround yourself with mentors, people. And again, so mentorship, it's more than just one-on-one now. You know, you're learning from these conversations, you're learning from people. So I wouldn't corner yourself into just hanging out with your mentor. Get yourself a mentor, get yourself a collaborative space, people that are in the same position as you, people that are a little bit behind you, people that are a little bit more ahead of you, and find out what they're doing to step things up. Because, and a piece of advice that you or I might give to somebody, okay, it's foundational, but maybe it's going to be differently perceived from a person who's just starting. So if they could learn from somebody who's in their first or second year. So at the end of the day, the third tip would be surround yourself by a positive culture that is either forward thinking or willing enough to share what they're going through right now, what's worked and what didn't.
And that's a big one too, right? And I mean, I say this all the time. If you are in a circle where all they do is talk negatively or berate other people or bring you down, get out of that space. At the end of the day, you want forward-thinking people who are talking about ideas, not people.
Exactly.
Right? Strategizing. I mean, it's great even within Revel for us, because you called me up and said, Kate, I need some descriptions on your employees.
Yep.
I need to know where do I have any gaps in my business?
Yep.
Here you go.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the thing. It's
huge.
Collaboration. It is huge. And I mean, I think you said it right at the beginning. You know, we're in such a funny profession where if we share too much, we feel like we're giving away too much, and that business won't be ours. Mm-hmm. But the more you share, the more positive you provide to our profession, the better it becomes.
I agree.
And the bar raises.
And even, and that's great. It's rising tides floats all boats.
Yes.
However, I did 51 referral connections. I say connections because not all of them worked out. Yep. But we did 51 referrals, agent-to-agent referrals last year.
That's huge.
That was 90% of my business.
That's
so
crazy.
What that means is that through providing value, through these ongoing connections and conversations, that provides a space to be like, okay, I have a client. I've had referrals from people who work in Hamilton and Burlington. They're like, I just don't want to go to Niagara, and I know you're going to do a really good job. I'm like, okay, perfect. I'm not turning that down. So even at the very least, know that karma works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. And you know what? Before we get into what doesn't work, let's just keep going with this, because this is basically how I've always viewed you as, and how you always talk about you know, running the real estate hacks.
Yep.
As one of the moderators. Obviously, a huge group of professionals in our industry. You've also always talked about the referral business amongst agents. You love to talk to other agents. You love to hear what they have to say. How important is that in our industry when you are starting out? Because what I have found in talking with new agents is you're new and you have something to prove. Mm-hmm. You know, it's about winning the conversation or getting an upper hand and not working together to get a deal done for both sides, and maintaining a professional relationship that you may come across again, right? So tell me, why is that important, or how important is it?
It's very important. And the problem is, so I love what I do with real estate hacks. The problem with social media in general, mainly Facebook, is that a first-year realtor can be, vulnerable, I guess?
Yeah.
And can really take shots for it, and can really take wrong advice. Because the people that are on Facebook the most are usually the people who aren't doing the most business. Right? So I always used to say, Andrew, what's your number one piece of advice you give to new realtors? I would say, don't listen to other realtors. And they're like, wait, what? How does that work? And I'm like, because the majority aren't doing the majority. Yeah. So they have a different outlook on how the business should be run. So it's important to reach out to people that you feel are on your same level or vibe, I guess you could say. As the young kids say, you know, they have to match your vibe. Because, you know, you got to search out for people that are going to give you honest answers.
Yes.
And not just like, oh, don't do that. That's crap. That's a waste of time. Well, hey, look, in my experience, that didn't work. But you are in a different market than I am. So why don't you go ahead and try it?
Yeah. Give it some time.
Exactly.
Set a goal. Well, I mean, look at Kenneth Toppin. Door knocking.
Yep.
I have never door knocked a day in my life. I never plan on it. I can't stand it. But that guy crushes it. Created an app. He tracks it. He's so phenomenal. Cool. I mean, that amazing. To me, I'm like he makes my spiel on why door knocking doesn't work look like complete trash,
you know,
because he makes it work.
I'm going in and talking at the Buzz conference about why the lead gen doesn't work. So it's everybody has a different aspect of the business that works for them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, last but not least, before I get into two questions that I want you to ask to our next guest, is name one thing that you wish you hadn't focused so much time on in your early career.
Yeah, so this is a great question. I focused way too much time and energy and money on things like, you call it the new shiny object. Right? So I was focused on designing my website, you know, focusing on building all my pages, which is important, but I was spending way too much time trying to learn the back end of Facebook, trying to focus on all these automations and systems that doesn't necessarily do anything for your first year.
Because you're also not in front of anybody.
Exactly. Yes. I was spending way too much time behind a computer and not behind or in front of other people.
That's a great one.
Get out there, talk to people, build those relationships. Don't spend too much time on, oh, well, you know, what did you do? I talk to realtors all the time. They're like, oh, well, you know, I just spent an hour designing my WordPress website. I'm like, why? Why do you need a website for? Like, nobody's even coming to your website.
No, and you're on page 96 of Google. So
196. So focus on where the money is.
That's right. Okay, so then to end, what we're going to do is we're going to ask two questions. One, for our next guest, which I'm not going to tell you who it is, I want you to give one piece of advice as a realtor and ask one question about their business.
Okay, so my question or tip that I have for this realtor who I don't know, this is an odd game we're playing.
Yeah, it is an odd game.
Is, are you accessible? And what I mean by that is, are you accessible to the others in the industry that require some advice and value?
Yeah, I like it.
Because people, you know, like, well, what value are you giving to people? And I said, at the end of it, I thought it was because I was giving them value on where to, you know, buy a fucking microphone or something, you know what I mean? But it wasn't that. It was the fact that I was accessible for these people.
Yep, I love that.
Yeah.
And so what question do you have for them being in the business?
Well, that's so hard.
It is.
What question do I have for the future guests? I would be like, what are your plans to divert from online leads this year? As in the past 2 years, we've been seeing a conversion rates extremely low.
I love this. Because then we're going to get the answers for them and you'll be tuning in to watch and that will be everything. So if you decide you'd like to have more information about the Andrew Perrie, he is one of my favorite people to follow on social media, Instagram specifically. You're a lot of fun, a lot of high energy. I call him Gucci swag because he's always dressed and I obviously love fashion. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah. The best place is just at the Andrew Perrie. Instagram, I follow people back. I answer my DM.
Yeah, he does. He's actually one of the quickest texters I've ever met in my life. Yeah. I send him a message and 30 seconds later, I've got everything I need right in front of me. So we appreciate you tuning in today. Thank you for joining us for our first episode of In the Vault with the Kate Broddick Team. And stay tuned for June's episode. We're doing this quarterly with our next special guest. Yeah, we're too busy. I don't want to make this a monthly thing. We don't have the time. So I'd rather do really good people in the Ontario real estate market. So stay tuned for that. And thanks for tuning in.